Hello.
Okay, warm welcome to everybody present here. Okay, today we will be having a day 2 session. Today's session will be on creative thinking. Okay, I'll hand over the session to the Dr.
Good morning, friends. So I hope you enjoyed yesterday's lecture. It was a very different kind of thing, totally based on my life. And now today we start with the real thing. Okay, and I'm going to talk about something which again I learned mostly by myself. Okay, but and over the years I improved on it, and in 2013, that is around 9 years ago, I was honored by INA with their some special lecture award, and the convener told me that I should speak on something that young researchers could really feel inspired, and they should learn about how to go about research. Up to that time, I had never thought on those lines. So that was the first time when I sat down and made these slides. Okay, of course, later on I improved upon them. But what I'm trying to say is that the first time when I realized that I should have something to say to youngsters, and they should learn something from it. And I should also tell you here that I was basically not qualified for this kind of thing, because all my life I have been an Institute of Science where we don't have any BTech. We only have postgraduate, and that is MTech and PhD. In fact, even MTech was not there up to 1956. We used to have only PhD. It started as a research institute, and I don't know, I hope you know something about Institute of Science. The history of it is very inspiring history. I just spend 2 minutes on that, because that is first I am sure you will like it. You have learnt about Tata. I am talking of the first Tata, J.N. Tata, Jamsetji Yusefzai Tata, great grandfather of the present Tatas. Now, he was an industrialist. He made a lot of money, and all that time he wanted to make a difference for the country. So he realized that he had a lot of iron in the soil. I am talking particularly Bihar, UP, Eastern UP, etc., that area. But then, he didn't know where to start. He was not an engineer, but he wanted to do something. So he had learned about something about steel, but we didn't have any steel factory in India. So what he did was, he collected soil samples by himself, from different cities of Bihar, Eastern UP, and what is now known as Jharkhand, etc. And then he left for Germany, because he wanted to go and show those scientists, and they wanted them to test that soil and tell whether we have iron in our Indian soil. Now, in those days there was no, I'm talking of 1894, so there was nothing like aircraft. Okay, so only the ships used to be there. And he took up a ship journey, and that would take 2 months going around the southern Africa and then beyond. On the way, something very interesting happened. Of course, he was very rich, so he was the first class cabin in the ship. But there was a lot of commotion or noise coming from the lower deck, second class deck. And then he made inquiry, And then they said an Indian saint, Swami Vivekananda, is traveling in the same ship. So he had heard about Swami Vivekananda, and he really felt curious that they were like. Then they went down and introduced themselves and started talking. And then, in fact, the conversation, etc., was so inspiring for both of them, each other, that he forgot about his first-class cabin. He spent time, days after days, only with Swami Vivekananda in that. Now, during that, Swami Vivekananda asked him, "Where are you going and what are you doing?" And then he told him that I have these soil samples and I am taking them to Germany. I want to really find out if we can there's iron in it and we can make steel out of it. And then Swami Vivekananda said, "Do you think they will tell you the truth? Will they? After all, now, because we don't have anything they sell anything they want to us at such exorbitant rates. Why don't they do that? You just show them and they'll say, no, that there's no iron in it. So that, you never think on those lines." And then he says, "No, I have already that experience. Yes, I am prepared for that kind of thing. So I am going to show also to scientists in other countries, in Europe, and then try to do something." But then anyway, he said, "Why don't you think beyond? Why don't you have so much money and you want to do something for the country? Why don't you set up some national laboratory or university where people could study and get the latest knowledge about testing materials, etc. Then you can get these samples tested in India." And so he liked that idea very much. And friends, I want to just tell you, that is when Indian Institute of Science was born. Between the two of them. So anyways, he still went to Germany, and of course nothing came out of that. But anyway, when he came back, he wanted to set up. Now mind you, we were under British, and they wouldn't even allow that also. So an Indian was trying to set up a university in India, even that was not allowed. You can imagine what being the foreign rule implies. Anyway, he wrote to the king at that time in England, and it took, you wouldn't believe, 7 years of correspondence. 7 years of correspondence between J.N. Tata and the British government to come to that stage where they could finally say, "All right, you start this Indian Institute of Science." Anyway, so then he made all the arrangements and regarding money and everything. And but before the institute would come up, he died. But good thing that happened was he made a will, divided all his property into 3 parts. 2 parts for his 2 sons and third for Indian Institute of Science. You can imagine a person who himself knew nothing. He was just a simple graduate. Okay? But then the vision that he had, so Indian Institute of Science is the 3rd son of Tata's. And the good thing is that though he died, his sons, Dorabji Tata and Ratan Tata, so both of them honored their father's will and did everything that was necessary to bring it to the stage where in 2009, finally Indian Institute of Science was formed. Okay, so I just thought I give you this whole background. You should feel proud of Tata's and what people can do for the country, and how Indian Institute of Science has imbibed the same spirit. And let me also tell you, those of you who are interested in history, that letter that he wrote to the king, it is worth reading. I cannot now tell you exact wording, but I'll tell you in my own words. What he says is that I have been very fortunate to have been very much blessed by God to have earned so much money, and again it is due to God that I got the idea that I should do something for the country. Again, it's because of God that, I was able to persuade the king of, England to allow me to put up this. And again he says, I'm blessed with the sons, who are ready to go along with me and then do everything that's necessary. And I hope even after I die, it will be done. So those of you who have been to Indian Science, you might have seen when you enter the institute, there is a big statue. It was set up in 2012 of Jamsetji Tata. And there are some other interesting things which only you have to see that. So do visit sometime because that is important. And for me, it was particularly important because I told you yesterday how I missed the bus and discovered digital science. And that was statue was the one thing that I was inspired by. And I said, yes, this is where I belong. So what I'm trying to say is this inspiration is something that really moves people. And in the long run, it can really do wonders. It is in that spirit that this AICTE has set up this AICTE Distinguished Chair Professor program and invited some of us to, spread this things about confidence and creativity and things like that. In fact, last year I offered such courses in 10 colleges in different parts of the country. This year I am offering 3, and this is a local college from college. So just I thought I'd share with you. Okay. So today I am going to talk to you about creative thinking, a leap ahead. And I would very sincerely suggest all of you please be very, very attentive today. You are going to learn something which, whether you are students or faculty, it might change your life, your way of thinking, way of doing work, and you will see your efficiency really improve. So please concentrate. I just read an introduction. During the formative years, we tend to associate productivity with conducive or competitive environment, the best of resources, world-renowned professors, and inspiring traditions. Why I am writing this? Those of you who are fortunate, as you are growing up, you must have heard from your parents or from your teachers that this is what you should be doing and this is the kind of life you should have, etc., etc. Okay? Though I had nothing of that sort when I started my life, but that is different. The main thing I want to just tell you that we tend to associate productivity with conducive environment. But what I want to tell you is, in this privileged journey, we overlook the creativity of the pioneers, the old research institutes like IISc, who did not have any of the present day resources, but still created formidable reputations. And that's why this thing. What I told you about Tata and everything. Okay, so this is how the digital science started, and you won't believe in those days the director of the institute, he was an Englishman, and he used to come on a horse, from his home to the office. And second thing, you won't believe at all, his secretary would follow him on a donkey. These are all facts, historical facts. You can't believe. And these days we think of donkey, etc. It's something very negative. But no, the secretary will follow him on a donkey. And that was just about 2-3 kilometers. So that is how everything started. Okay. Now, what is creative thinking? How can it be sharpened or augmented? Let us see. So this is the first slide in a way, it's a summary of what I told you yesterday, that you have to learn to challenge yourself all the time. Now today I'll be giving you some details of challenging, what it really means, how do you do it. I'm saying this is the best way to develop your thinking or brain power. Because I told you yesterday that our brain is like a clean slate when we are born. And more you think, more you use it, it starts getting those markings, etc., etc., and that is how the whole thinking develops. So I'm telling you, and to inculcate the habit of asking yourself about the solution or answer before looking it up in the book or paper. Now it's very easy. I mean, you want to learn something, so you open a book. Now, give stop for some time. Okay, don't read. So just read the title. Then maybe subtitle. Read a little to know what the author is trying to tell you. But then close the book and ask yourself now. Start thinking on that. If you were, asked that kind of thing, how you will think about it. So you will find that to start with, of course, you will get nothing. You'll be blank. Okay, but doesn't matter. Think for some time, and then open the page. Then start reading, and then ask yourself, now, did I think on this line? Oh my God, I didn't think on this. This is entirely different way of thinking. Fine, no problem. You read maybe half page, 1 page, 2 pages, and then the next section comes, again you stop and say, all right, now, on this line of thinking, if I had to do something about this subject, how would I proceed? Again, you will find, to start with, you will feel blank. You just say, I have not been taught. Now this word you never utter to yourself, I have not been taught. Because after all, whosoever has written, he must have learned from somebody, and then that person must have somebody. But somebody did think originally. Please, but I'm trying to tell you, that knowledge that you are now reading, it did come from somebody original. He didn't have any book to start with. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? That you do not say, I don't know. Never say that. Or never say that I have not been taught. Why should I be taught? Somebody had to start with that. He must have developed that knowledge. And why can't that be you? Okay? So what I'm trying to say is, you learn to, and it's a very interesting thing. You might feel that it is a little difficult, but you enjoy that. I went through all those exercises. I'm telling you, I was never happier than those moments. Because after that, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, I would say, oh yes, I was also thinking of the same thing. Yes, this is how I would have proceeded. So even if out of, let's say, 10 things, in 2 of them, I think I also thought the same way. So don't get discouraged by 8 things which did not occur to you. But those 2 things in which you also thought the same way, yes, I also could do it. So what I'm trying to say is, yesterday I gave you an example of a person who is going up a mountain. Okay, so of course he has to look up there to get inspired. At the same time, look down all the time to develop confidence that yes, already I have come that much on the mountain. Okay, so always you have this feeling that yes, I could also think like that. I also thought of that kind. That's a very nice thing, and stop that to congratulate yourself. And this internal dialogue, you carry on, and I'm telling you from personal experience, it's great. The feeling is great. I mean, all the time we look at these days entertainment from internet, this, that. Nothing comes anywhere near that, the happiness I'm talking about. It's a real happiness coming from within and stays with you. Okay? Now let me continue here. So I was just now telling you, inculcate the habit of asking yourself about the solution or answer before looking it up in the book. If you cannot, get a clue and again challenge yourself. You know, you get a clue and again close it. They don't do something and again you get stuck. And then again open, just get the next clue, but close it. What I'm trying to say is, do not let the book lead you. All the time, keep that initiative with yourself. All the time telling, yes, I could do it. I will be able to do it. I have been able to do it. Why not today? Yes. You know. So what I'm trying to say is, if you carry on this dialogue with you, now you are already your thoughts are only on those lines. Because otherwise what happens is that in our normal life, our thoughts are very, very random. There's something here, something there, something. But now, because I'm carrying on that dialogue all the time, I'm keeping my mind busy. My mind cannot go anywhere else other than this line of thinking. So this approach can make the literature survey phase of research great fun. Now this is very important. Those of you who are, are there any research students in this audience? Nobody? You have research students in the college, right? But nobody. I thought you have, how many students you have in the college, research students, doing their degree, PhDs? Okay. I can see some hands. Good. Thanks. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is, those of you who are starting research, now you will find that you have to do literature survey. Now that phase is very important, and what I'm going to tell you, please all of you try to note. Now when your guide tells you, go and read such and such paper in that journal, you go to library and then open that one and start reading. What happens? Because you will find everything is new, you know, and that can be very discouraging. You feel, I know nothing. All this kind of thing, this is the first time I'm reading, etc., etc. No, don't let that happen. Okay? Again, take back the control. Do not let yourself be discouraged by that man who has written that paper. Because that person may be 40-year-old, 50-year-old, he may have been doing research for 20 years, 30 years, and therefore what he now knows, that doesn't mean that he knows already. Doesn't matter. But you play the same game, and I was just not telling you. You take that paper, just think a couple of minutes on the title alone. Okay, so that it goes deeper into you what exactly this man is trying to tell you. Title alone, I am telling you again and again, title alone. And then you go to abstract of the paper. And while you read the abstract, then you get an idea of what kind of thing this man is doing, what kind of method he will be using, what kind of results he is getting. Okay. So now, after the abstract, again stop. And now you start thinking about that abstract and say, okay, now if I had to do this, how would I proceed? Okay, he did this, so naturally he did this kind of method. Okay, I don't know this method today, but maybe I have to learn that method, but never mind. Okay, using this method, he gets this, and then he compares this kind of thing with this. And then he is trying to improve that accuracy by doing this. So, what I'm trying to do is, you go through the abstract and think on those lines, that your whole thinking comes on that wavelength. You are almost with him, as if he has just now talked to you, and now he is with you, and that's what now you are going to do. And after that, just always have, of course, and I'm not saying that, always have your notebook with you and keep writing. And now write down, if you had to now do this kind of work, how you would proceed. Okay? And maybe at this time, you can just look at subtitles of the paper to get a clue of how he is proceeding. And again, close your eyes and again thinking only of this. And whatever you think, write down. Now, this writing down, I am telling you, it's a very, very important part of my lecture today. Again, what I was telling you that all of us are doing our normal, all our thoughts are not in our hand at all. I mean, we just think of this, there's some nonsense somewhere. But now when I am keeping my mind busy all the time on that, and even writing down what I am thinking, my mind cannot go anywhere else. It has to be on that problem. So whatever comes to your mind, write down. Whatever comes, and in fact you will find that often in my case, almost 80 to 90% will be nonsense later. But then that some 10%, 15, some 20% will make sense. And then I cross everything what was not wrong, and now and take this and I highlight what makes sense. Start thinking on that. So all the time, think, write, criticize yourself, congratulate yourself, whatever, but keep the dialogue busy. You are not letting the mind go elsewhere. The mind is on that problem, good or bad, right or wrong. It is on that problem. And now, something very interesting happens. I gave you some hint yesterday. The mind starts getting deeper and deeper. And then something occurs to you which, when you started in the morning working on that, you had not even thought about that. Okay? But then whatever that comes to your mind, you write down, therefore you are not letting it go. Okay? You would write down, and so it will not be missed out. Otherwise what happens is that our thoughts, are, as I told you all, as random. Many good things or correct things or creative things simply slip away because at that particular time I was not conscious of that thought. I let that thought go. But now I am not letting that happen. I am all the time noting down. Now just on the lighter side I can just tell you, when I did my research, starting in my MTech, this one, I was telling you about the sitting in the library and this. So good thing was, IISc particularly has a very, very good library, and behind those rows and rows of books, there were some quiet corners. So I had discovered for myself one quiet corner where I put my chair and table, and I would be sitting there, so completely undisturbed. And of course, I was lucky that we had no computers those days, no laptops, no mobiles, no phones even, normal this one. So it was very, very calm atmosphere. And now you might feel that it will be unthinkable at a world of that type. But then anyway, that world was given to us. We couldn't do anything about it. But that was the best thing that happened. So there were no diversions. Okay, there were no diversions. And therefore, we could do all that. And because I would choose that corner, now there is no question of a friend or somebody coming and say hello or something. So that thing also would not be there. Okay, anyway, so let me just tell you here. I will continue another this call. In this way, you will develop self-confidence and retain the initiative instead of getting overwhelmed by the author of the book or paper. Now, this is a very real thing. Many such students come to the guide and say, "Sir, I couldn't understand anything. I don't know what that man is writing. I don't think I can do research." They get so much discouraged. you know. So now I'm saying all this not to let that discouragement happen. Don't get overwhelmed by that author, because that author is not a boy or a girl of 15 or 20. You know, he is maybe 30, 40, 50. So, you know, he has had his life, and therefore he could think of all that. He may not have thought also, he might have taken from somewhere. But anyway, he had that, opportunity of going through all the knowledge. But you are just starting, so don't get overwhelmed. This is very important because many of the students give up right there. And I'm telling you, when many students give up research right before the start, they just think that it's beyond that their heads. But it's not. It is just how you approach that, it's important. Incidentally, you may, in this process, you may discover a better method for solving the problem, or find a mistake or presumption in the author's approach, giving yourself a head start for your research. So what I'm trying to say is, because every time you are retaining the initiative with you, and you are doing, asking yourself and doing this, in the process, you may develop another way of thinking. Okay? And that's the best thing, because that's what research is about. Because not only, even many times, in fact, it happened with me several times, I will not be able to understand, but at the same time, I won't care. Because I could tell myself I can do better than that. You know, I will sit on it for 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever, and finally come out with something which is in some way better than that. It's publishable by itself. Okay? And in fact, you won't believe, the literature survey that I needed for my PhD thesis, I did when I had finished my PhD work. But because before writing a thesis, because I had to do that because as a part of the thesis, literature survey. Okay, so I did literature survey at that time. In fact, again, the two friends of mine, they were saying that you are going for a shock. You are just going on doing your own work, and now then you find at the end of this one that all that has already been done. Okay, so I said, doesn't matter. I said, you really think deeply about it. It's very interesting. One is that this world, this nature, everything is so complex that the chances of another brain thinking on those lines exactly as you is very, very small. The probability of that is very small. Okay. A second is that even if it partially is a similar thing, then I go through that and find out that yes, how mine is different or better, and that itself is publishable. If, let us say, in the most improbable case, it so happens that exactly what I did, that person has already done 20 years ago or whatever. Okay? But again, I don't get discouraged. That really means that yes, even without all the knowledge and the facilities that person had, I could also do all that exactly this. But that itself is worth congratulating myself. So what I'm trying to say is, I really made sure that I will not get discouraged or overwhelmed by what somebody else has done elsewhere. Okay? And this is what I want to share with you, not only the knowledge, but the spirit behind it. That's what if I can pass on to you, it will be great. Okay. Now I'm going a little deeper about the procedure, please. Now, I'm saying write down the question or problem, articulate it precisely. So this is very important. You know what, we start this, we don't write anything. We say, okay, today I'm going to think about this problem. And then you sit down blank, and you're not writing down, and again mind goes there, and you get nothing. So what I'm saying is, right in the beginning, you write exactly the question to which you are looking for a solution. And I'm saying articulate it precisely. This is very important. A question well defined is only half the way to solution. I hope you have heard this sentence from this. Okay? It's a very important thing. In fact, I remember somebody who was leading a group for brainstorming. So, about 15 minutes into the session, when he asked, anybody has got any idea? No, nothing, blank. And then he says one person, just okay, fine. You only tell me what was the question. And you wouldn't believe, half the people had already lost the question. Because in that random thinking, our question itself is lost. So first thing that you always do is write down the question. Or maybe you can write down the question in 2 or 3 different ways, so that all aspects of that remain in your mind all the time. Then you start, looking for a solution. And what I was telling you, whatever comes to your mind, write down. Okay? And whenever you find that you are not heading anywhere, nothing concrete is coming out, never mind, just come back to the question, read the question again. And when you read the question twice, you will realize that, my God, you have to really thought on those lines. The new way of thinking, new depth will occur to you. And then start thinking again, and then start writing. And this is a very important thing I'm saying, that make it a habit, write down the question. So that question remains before you, and your thoughts cannot go anywhere else. Because every time you thought go anywhere else, you come back to the question. Read the question again. Okay? And then you really, your mind finally gives up. That this fellow is not leaving me. So it has to think only on the question. And every time you reread a question, you will find some different foresight will occur to you. Okay? And even during the thinking, do what should I say, expressive thinking. I mean, not that you're actually talking. Within the mind, thoughts, let it be louder thoughts. Okay, within the mind. And keep listening to those thoughts and write down whatever comes to your mind. Okay, so that in all this you are training the mind to remain on the question. That's all I'm trying to tell you. It's very important to train the mind to remain on the question, and the longer it stays on the question, you will find deeper it can go in. And mind you, all knowledge is finding inside. You don't have to go anywhere else. You only go deeper and deeper into your own mind, and you will find you become more and more great. Okay, I will come back to that later again. So I am saying reread the question or problem and keep thinking about it. Now keep jotting or writing whatever comes to your mind about the problem. Whenever you seem to be encountering a block, read the question again and repeat it mentally. Long, uninterrupted thinking, at least a couple of hours at a stretch, takes your mind deeper, thereby making you more creative. Talk to yourself internally about different aspects of the problem. This way you preclude extraneous random thoughts. And this is a very important thing I told you yesterday also. Enjoy the process of research. Don't ever get a thought come to you, my God, since morning I'm working on this, all my friends are playing or doing this, that, etc., and I'm stuck like that, nothing is coming out. Don't let negativity come at all. Do not lose control of that. You all the time be in a very happy, challenging, excited state. You are playing games with yourself internally. And that's enjoyable. I'm telling you all from personal experience, in my mind, that whatever happened, I gave you the background. I had nothing to look forward to in my life at home. We had nothing at home practically. But I had a different world altogether. I was in that, doing that kind of work and enjoying so much. Nothing was more enjoyable than that. It's how you look at it. You have to understand that happiness is in your hand. Nobody can take away your happiness, if you don't want to let it happen. Please. In fact, this is a very important part of project that I want to tell you, because this process of research is fantastic. Now, again, what is the process of research? See, research, when you do, results may come maybe once a month, or sometimes even once in 3 months. So, in those 3 months, when you are getting nothing tangible, you can really feel very unhappy, very discouraged. You don't let that happen. Enjoy the process of research. It's like, for example, you are going on a journey. Now, journey, let us say it's 3-hour journey. Now, the real way you want to go, you reach after 3 months or 3 hours. But what you do? What makes you continue the journey in those 3 hours? It's only if you enjoy the path. Look around, beautiful scenery as you are going the path. This one, you enjoy everything rather than only keeping the enjoyment for the end when you reach the destination. So do not let that happen. Enjoy the process of research. It's a beautiful feeling. Again, now in research, favorable or exciting results come only once in a while. To keep yourself going in the meanwhile, you must learn to enjoy the process of research. Research can be fun. Sorry, it should be if you are not anxious for the desired results. Anxiety only delays the results. Don't be anxious. Don't feel, oh my God, I have to show to the guy, what will he say? He is already unhappy with me. Don't let that happen. Don't let that happen. Because often, we get into that and then become anxious and that itself, the whole process, whole thinking goes down the drain. Don't let that happen. And therefore, those of your faculty here, I like to also say, never put deadlines on your students. Because in research, that cannot happen. In research, nobody can say, I get the results in 2 hours, 4 hours, 10 hours. Nothing. It may be 0. But no. All you can make sure that your student is on the job. And believe in him or her. Okay, and whatever comes out, take it. That's how it is. That's how research goes. So it's very important to develop the right kind of attitude in these matters. Because I am telling you, because I was in the research institute, and some people go crazy. And in fact, you may not like to hear this, but I can just tell you, at Emeritus of Science, we have 3 psychiatrists full time. We have 6 psychiatrists, who are part time, available for counseling of boys and girls. Okay? Because research journey is lonely journey. Please remember that. You are your own companion. And make sure you are a good companion for yourself. Keep yourself entertained. Keep yourself challenged. Keep yourself happy, all the time. And don't look for happiness coming from a success. Success doesn't come every day. Okay? So this is a very important thing I'm telling you, that enjoy the process of research. And it's really enjoyable. Again, I'm telling you, I wouldn't be standing here today if I had not enjoyed research right in the beginning. Okay? So it is really enjoyable. So I'm saying reward yourself for the smallest achievements. Breakthroughs happen, but they cannot be planned for. That's why I was telling guides also should never set deadlines in these matters. Do not be too sure about the research outcome. Leave room for serendipity. If results are not as expected, do not reject them outright. No, this is very important thing. I don't know how many of you know this. This concept of serendipity. Serendipity basically means you are looking for something, but something entirely different comes. Now, don't say, oh my God, I went to the wrong, some nonsense is coming. That nonsense may be that's something nature is trying to tell you that there is another thing you are missing it. Come on. You know? And you know, in fact, the statistical figures tell you that nearly 50% of all results in research in the world over the years, centuries, have happened by serendipity. A person, a chemist, was doing some experiment. He was looking for something, but entirely something different came in. And he, when he, you know, I mean, it didn't, he just, I mean, of course, many people will reject it and say, oh, that's something I made a mistake or something. No. The person says, oh, wait a minute. What is this happening? How could it have happened? Okay? And start thinking, and then nature takes you on a different way of thinking. And that was going to another discovery which he had never thought. Okay, sorry. So what I'm trying to tell you is that now a person is going somewhere for the first time, and he thinks that this is the way, if he goes like this, he will reach there. But then on the way something happens, and he is not able to proceed that. So now he has to think about another way. But then, while he going there, well, that is not completely new for him. He goes in that way, and then he discovers something which he was not prepared for. He was going for something else. But that is something much more valuable. Okay? So this is called serendipity. So what I'm trying to tell, that we should be, particularly on guides of research, that they should keep room for serendipity. In fact, I'll tell you one personal one. A girl student was doing research under me, and I gave her some problem, and I said possibly this or this or this, one of these three approaches should work. Okay, you go and then come back and tell me. And then she came back with some results. So together we decided that okay, other two approaches, if you go to this one to continue. So she continued on that, and then after a week, she showed me some results, and it was definitely wrong. And I said, no, this is not wrong. You are making some mistakes now. Please go back and do again. And this. Poor girl, she spent 3 days more and came to me with exactly the same results. And I told her that don't try to practice what you've done. Redo it. And she actually did that she had redone and gets exactly the same results which she had come to me with. This happened 3 times. When third time when she came, again exactly the same results, and before I could open her mouth, she broke down. She started crying. Because she said that this is it. I'm just getting these results. And then something occurred to me. Maybe I'm expecting results in an done it wrong way. She's right, but only my expectations are wrong. And I'm telling you, that was a moment of serendipity. So then I took over from her, did everything myself, and then I also got exactly the same results which she was getting. And then I told myself that no, that only means my expectations are completely wrong. Why don't I forget about my expectations and go on this path? And in fact, together we worked for another 22 days, and we came up with something which is something one of the best things that can happen. In fact, we published a paper in Journal of Standardization, and that has been cited at least 100 times. And that is a very new method for doing something. So what I'm trying to tell you is, this was one personal experience of serendipity. Okay? So for serendipity, it's important the guide has to be having open mind. Because after all, he could have been expecting results in a different way. Okay? So he may also have to learn that that was not the way. Okay? And it is in serendipity that a lot of things happen. Nature can try to teach us only through serendipity. Okay? We should keep our minds open and don't lose that out. Okay. This is another thing I want to share with you. After all of you are engineers, so you should really work on practical problems. It's very easy to have a practical problem to work on. Whatever results come, yes, they're publishable because they are new. Okay? But then, there are three things here. One is, that is not what the country needs. On each one of us sitting here, imagine the kind of money that is being spent, public money, by the government. And they have a right to expect from us that we will come out with something which will be useful. Okay? So it is our duty. But second thing is, for an engineer, the best thing at the end of the day can be that he did came out with something which is useful, which is something new, something different. And that's a very nice thing that can happen. Other thing is that when you work on practical problems, you will find that because you are working on problems, the publishability of your results is very good. Very few people work on practical problems. But we in India, we cannot have the luxury of working only on entirely theoretical kind of problems. Okay? I can just tell you, it's not something just like that. For example, I was telling you yesterday I did about 125 consultancy projects. Out of that, at least 30 projects resulted in publishable material. In fact, you will, I'll just tell you something interesting. It was the first thing that happened with me. I published something on the practical problem, and after about 2 months or something, editor of another journal wrote to me that can I give him the permission to republish it in his journal, and he also told that he'll give me 400 pounds as fee. It was the first time. I never thought, many people have paid that fee to publish something. Okay. Here's another one that he was ready to pay me 400 pounds if I could only allow my paper to be republished in his journal. And the main thing was there was nothing very path-breaking or earth-shaking in it. It was on a very practical problem. And the other journal, that man was having a magazine which was being used by industries. So he could make much more money from my paper by using that. Okay. Anyway, so I allowed because otherwise I would have gone waste because I had no direct approach to those industries. Okay. But what I'm trying to say is it can also go in that path. So out of that 30-40, I published at least 30 papers, in very good journals, arising out of working on a practical problem. Now, I repeat this, finding solutions to real-life problems in your chosen field of research is very satisfying at the end of the day. They open the door to consultancy services, which in turn are desirable for placements for your students, extra earnings for your institute or your overheads, as well as for yourself and your students. In fact, I was telling you yesterday, my students were always the first to be, appointed by, picked up by the companies in the campus interviews, because all of them have been trained on the real life problems. Okay. And second was that even during many students, they, of course, we give them, every student gets a scholarship in our institute, but that is, it's not enough for relatively poor students. Okay. So I could give a part of consultancy fee to my students, and they could really, in fact, many of them wanted to send something home, etc., etc. So what I'm trying to say is, I had that satisfaction that I could help those students with that extra money to send it home. Okay, and later on also, of course, get them good job, etc. So you really form a kind of you develop a very nice ecosystem in which everybody is happy. Now, then you get a chance to work for societal welfare. In fact, this is very important. Our Prime Minister has been, repeating again and again at various fora that countries spending so much on research, and society has a right to expect something for real life problems. In fact, I have attended 3 or 4 meetings in the last 5 years, where all the directors of the institute, they were persuaded by Modi to come out with something that we can be proud of. And this has really helped, because now those directors or the vice chancellors, they would come and share those kind of feelings with their faculty, and faculty would also naturally share with students and all that. So it has changed the atmosphere altogether. Particularly at industrial science, which was criticized as ivory tower of research. Okay, it's no longer so. All our students, in fact, almost like I would say 40 to 50% of students want to start their own startups. We have our incubation center, and one incubation center in August is not good enough. So we had to set up another one. Okay, one is government funded, other is our internal from the consultancy money that we earn, and that is also full. Okay, so everybody is all the time thinking of contributing something. In fact, I remember something very interesting. A person finished PhD in chemical engineering department, and then he did some very good work, and he was offered a direct assistant professorship. Normally we don't do that. Okay, and but then he didn't take it. He says, no. I would feel happy if not just that. I get that appointment. I should be able to employ 20-25 people. And the man has a company now. He's actually taken 25 research students and given them a job and as good a salary as anybody can give. He says that is what we should be doing. I should be able to employ people rather than look for a job. So this culture is coming even in industrial science, because always criticized as doing ivory tower. So no longer so. I was telling you yesterday that we have about 300 crores of annual budget in the institute, but we earn another 300 crores from projects. Okay. So you can see how much money is coming to the institute now from projects, and automatically it has other implications for society. Okay. So I am sharing with you all these things because whole environment is changing. And if the Prime Minister, what he says there, it trickles down, the advice trickles down at various levels and finally inspires the students in the classroom, and everybody wants to do something. In fact, it's very often now in our research laboratories, and the student says, "Sir, please leave me alone." You know, this sentence is we hear very often now. "Sir, please leave me alone. I'll come back to you and I have something." And we leave them alone, not for days or weeks, even months. And suddenly one day he says, "Sir, I'm beaming face. Sir, can you give me half an hour? I want to share with you something." And the man has really come out with something which he had never thought. So now we are also giving that kind of freedom, and we are putting that kind of confidence on our youngsters, and it's working. Okay. Let me continue here. And I guess I told you, research papers based on practical problems are generally appreciated by editors of academic journals. And by working on practical problems, often you come across gaps in basic knowledge which open up new venues of research. Now, this is another thing, of course, yesterday I did tell you something, but I will go deeper into it. Be resourceful. Don't say that, "Oh, I should have a laboratory like this. I should have these instruments, which that kind of thing. It is there in Russia, it is there in USA. I should also have that. Then I can do research." But if you are that kind of person, you are not looking at the resources the country has already for you. You are only fixing in your mind that I want that, I want that. Okay? This is not on. So be resourceful. Availability of sophisticated instruments is desirable, but not always necessary. Often, non-availability of sufficient research funds is offered as an excuse for inadequate research output. Challenge yourself to do with whatever resources are available. You may in fact discover your latent capabilities in the process. Experimental and method simulations are often needed for corroboration of analytical prediction. You may as well use measurement results reported in the literature for that of single problem. In fact, I have done it very often. I didn't have those facilities, but I had done that analytical work, and now to make it publishable, I needed experimental validation or verification. So what I did was, I went to the literature, and I found so many people had published experimental results with no theory. Just experimental results, because they had good instruments, they had good facilities, they had no ideas, but doesn't matter, they went on, they keep working and publishing. Now, person like me pick up that and give them the theoretical base and publish nice papers. And mind you, finally that goes in my name, because it's the person who worked out the theory, the real science credit goes to him. So what I'm trying to say is that if my institute cannot give me all those facilities, I should not sit down crying. In the literature, there are several others in other side of the table. They are doing only experimental work. Pick up all that and now use your theory and then tell them, okay, this is the theory that works in that experiment. And that's publish it. Now this is a very, very different kind of thing that I'm going to share with you. Do not get disturbed. I told you yesterday I'm going to come with the spiritual ages, but you will find as I go deeper into this, there is a lot of truth in this, a lot of sense in it. A disturbed mind cannot be creative. Today's lecture is on creativity, and let me tell you, a disturbed mind cannot be creative. That's why the first statement I'm making is, a calm mind is a prerequisite for creative research. There may be irritants all around, but remember that getting disturbed or not is entirely your choice. Often they say, "Oh my God, I'm disturbed because of this, because of this." You are giving credit to that person, that he succeeded in disturbing you. It was in your hand not to get disturbed. It's all the choices you make in life. That is what decides what happens to you. And that's entirely in your hand. Okay, I'm repeating this. There may be irritants all around. But remember that getting disturbed or not is entirely your choice. It's really your choice. And that's why I'm saying at the top, refuse to get disturbed. Take it up as a challenge. And that's why I'm saying learn to resist provocations. Often, in the class or in the college, you have bullying. Somebody provokes you to something and then because that's what he wants. He wants to disturb you and you are just playing into his hands by getting disturbed. Tell yourself, no, I will not get disturbed. And it works. I'm telling you from personal experience, it works. Do not be jealous. Remember, there is enough room for everybody in the sky. Jealousy comes in that, oh, he has that, why don't I do this, he didn't deserve this, so why would he get this? We do this negative thinking. In the process, become very jealous. And jealousy leads to 100 other things all of you know. Okay? And so, I'm saying, do not be jealous. Remember, there is enough room for everybody in the sky. Refusing now, don't get angry. Refusing to get angry is not only your own necessity or your own peace of mind, but also the most disarming response to your adversity. It's very interesting thing that somebody does something to you, provokes, but you don't get angry. Now that person doesn't know what to do with you. He expected anger, and then he was also prepared to give you back and start a fight. But you don't react, you don't get angry. So poor fellow doesn't know what to do with you. That's the most disarming thing you can do to your adversary. Somebody said very aptly, remaining angry is like holding a hot coal in your hand with the intention of throwing it at your enemy. You never throw it, but it continues to burn your hand. This feeling, I'm sure all of you have gone through that. You get upset over something, you're very angry inside. And now that anger is only burning you. You're not doing anything to the adversary. It's like you're holding a coal or hot coal in your hand with the intention of throwing it, but you never throw it. And all the time that coal is burning in your hand. You are harming yourself by being angry. You are not harming other person. I repeat this sentence, it's worth looking at. It says, remaining angry is like holding a hot coal in your hand with the intention of throwing it at your enemy. You never throw it, but it continues to burn your hand. Just to give you an example, some scientist in Delhi, he was retired and some persons who were very upset with him or something, okay, they really made sure that he was deprived of certain retirement benefits because they accused him of something, they dug up something old file, etc. Anyway, something they did, and this man lost so much. And now, I happened to meet that man 6 months after the retirement, and he was unrecognizable. He had almost killed himself. Looking at his face, I could actually not recognize him. Then when I asked him, then we sat down and we had a long discussion. And then I found what had happened, and this is because of that, they finished me. And they did this to me, etc. After that, he had spoken and I heard for almost 2 hours. Then I said, would you like to hear something? I said, he didn't do anything to you. You just did that to yourself. Now, he wanted to disturb you, you got disturbed. He wanted to harm you, you got harmed. He wanted to spoil your life, you let him spoil your life. Or just during this 6 months, I said, after this hardcore in your hand. You have brought yourself to unrecognizable. I can't recognize my friend, 20 years I have known you, and this, what have you done to yourself in 6 months? This is your father accusing me. I said, no. I'm just saying that getting disturbed or not is in our hand. Now, you wanted to give him back, you would have not, first thing, don't get disturbed. Don't let him have the satisfaction that he spoiled your life. Don't give him that pleasure. Okay? So you really take it in your hand and say, no, I will not play into his hands. He wants to spoil my life, I will not let it happen. Okay? Because finally, you are spoiling your life. He didn't do anything. And he's having the laugh that he really taught you a lesson, something nonsense. I said, but it is in your hand. First, it took me almost half an hour to first drive that sentence into him. In fact, he almost felt I am also accusing him of something, as if it's my fault. I said, it's your fault is that you got disturbed. You played into his hands. He wanted to harm you, you harmed yourself. He wanted to spoil your life, you spoiled your life yourself. I'll tell you something interesting. This was this afternoon, and then I just told him that we'll meet by evening. I said, I was there for 2 days. So in the evening, I found that he was different. For the first time, I could see that smile that I used to have on my friend's face. And he says, Manohar, you are right. More and more I think I should have thought in those lines. So I was prepared that evening to continue my dialogue, etc. But I didn't have to. Things had gone home. That's my giving in time. Okay. And anyway, I'll just tell you a summary. Summary is the man is exactly what he used to be. Same kind of health, same kind of smile on the face, and he's, he won't care anything for that man who did. He just doesn't exist. That man doesn't exist for him. Finished. He just wrote him off from his consciousness. That's it. And not only that, I'll tell you further something. That person is in a very bad shape, the person who had tried to harm him. Because he expected the kind of thing expected. He was deprived of that. This man used to be unhappy. Okay? And that's what I'm saying, this sentence. Refusing to get angry is not only your own necessity, but also the most disarming response to your adversary. It's very interesting, in fact, right now today, we are hearing for the first time such different, but I'm giving these slides with Dr. Santosh. Please feel free to take from him and do a little counseling for yourself. You may change life the way you live, and you will be much more creative after. Now I'll continue this slide. If somebody abuses you, he obviously wants to hurt you. But by getting hurt or disturbed, you are playing into his hands. Do not oblige him. Do not oblige him. You are obliging him by getting disturbed, because that's what he wants to do. Don't play into his hands. And do not react immediately. Because, these kind of things depend only because immediately we react. And already the mistake is done by reacting immediately, but that's what the other person wanted. He provoked you, and you got provoked. He succeeded. You obliged him. Okay? Do not react immediately. Hold back, think calmly, and then respond if you must. Many times you do not have to respond at all. There is no need to respond. In fact, that's another thing you can disarm that person. You do not know how to handle it because they didn't respond. Another thing, practicing unconditional forgiveness for yourself as well as everybody around is not only good for your physical as well as mental health, but also it's conducive to creativity research. All of our random thoughts are about the past or the future. Live in the present and see how creative you can be. In fact, it's very interesting, you just close your eyes and start analyzing your thoughts. You'll find that either you have been thinking of what happened in the past, what you did, what you spoke, what you should not have spoken, or what other person should not have done. All that is past. Nobody has control on that. But you are continuing to get disturbed thinking of that now. That is negative thinking. Okay? Again, other thing is you extrapolate what happened today and say tomorrow that happened, what happened, this is what happened, that happened. All that time, if this, then what, if then this what. So you are all that time doing some thinking for future. It's not in your hand, you don't even know what will happen or not happen. But you are spoiling your life. So, and that's why I was telling you also about research, why random thoughts should not be allowed. Because they are always destructive, either the past or future. Remain in the present. And in the present can only be what you are doing. And have the fun of that research. That's all in the present. Okay? All of our random thoughts are about the past or the future. Live in the present and see how creative you can be. Now this, of course, I've been telling you, but I repeat that part. In fact, tomorrow full lecture is on industrial consultancy. But I'll summarize something. Consultancy gives you field experience. This experience or exposure enables you to impart practical knowledge and pose challenging problems to your students. Now this is very important. So I was telling you, that I wrote the book on acoustics. That's another one on noise and vibration control. All the time, all my solved exercises and unsolved problems, everything is from my industrial experience. So my students directly work on the industrial problem. And in fact, I gave always open book test or examination. Because I am not testing their memory. Okay? So let them look at that and not solve actual practical problems. So my exams are also like that. So and not only that, many times it so happens that somebody says, can you give me half an hour extra, kind of time. I say fine, but only thing is, write it there that you got half an hour extra. So that at the end I'm taking over a view of what you have performed. I should keep it in mind. But continue. And many times it has happened, the person, he instead of 3 hours, he sits for 4 hours, and then he says, I'm just blank. I don't know what is happening. I'm not able to think at all. Okay? So then he said, I said, what do you want? He said, I just need a break. So, in fact, twice it has happened. I allowed him the break, went to the canteen, had a cup of tea, coffee, cold drink, whatever. Okay? And then I told him during that time that, apart from whatever else you want to do, please, John, just do some deep breathing. Just deep breathing. Don't think about this problem, just deep. Do that and calm yourself. And the man came back and wouldn't breathe. He solved everything. And had I not allowed him that time, I would have got completely wrong impression about him. And then the man was completely changed after that. So what I'm trying to say is that teachers also need to be a little more flexible and believe in the students, okay, and carry them with them, and you'll find that you can change a man, not just a knowledge partner. Now, this is very interesting to tell you. In creativity, it's very important that you should know, develop, and use mental mathematics. Because all the time I was telling you, creativity is all in the mind. and mind is thinking on something, and if for every small calculation you need a calculator, then you already come on the mind. I mean, my thinking should continue in the mind, and whatever calculations I have to do, I should be able to do a mental mathematics, so that that thinking process does not break. But otherwise, every time you say I need to use calculator, I am out. I mean, creativity is gone. This is a very important thing. Of course, it just happened. I was lucky because in those days there was no computer, no calculator, etc. So I had nothing else but mental mathematics. Okay, but that is different. But I am saying today also, it is worth inculcating that. Now, often when I visit an industry as consultant, I have to do quick mental calculations of the noise reduction that needs to be achieved in a particular environment, the available alternatives, that is noise control measures, and the cost and time implications of the consultancy project. Detailed design calculations would have to await formal award of the project. Now, industry doesn't have patience. When they are invited me as consultant, they expect by the end of the day that day, something is okay, what will you do, how much it will cost, what kind of noise reduction you can get. They want same day. So I can't say that I go back, work on this, and come back to you. Because they'll say fine, but they're not paying me anything for it. So I give myself like 10 days work, 20 days work, but they have not made any payment. But if I am able to do mental calculation, I spend only that day with them. Give them at the end of the day, yes, you will have to do something like this, it will cost you so much, and these are alternate things like that. So that the next day when I come back, I get the letter that yes, please take up the project and now give us a detailed proposal. And the project starts. So what I'm trying to tell you is that this is not true only for consultancy. It's also true for real productive research. Because I was telling you that if you have to come out of thinking process to take the help of a computer or calculator or things like that, already that closed door. And that cannot happen. So I'm repeating here that industry folks generally do not have patience and revision for a feasibility study. They insist on ballpark figures by the end of the same day in order to decide whether they would initiate a project at all. In fact, this thing came to my father. I was sharing with you something. I told you yesterday he had no formal education at all. But my father, who was otherwise uneducated, was good at mental arithmetic. He had memorized multiplication tables up to 20 by 20 and was able to earn his living by doing quick back of the hand calculations for the village, farmers and shopkeepers in their day-to-day business. And for him it was a necessity, as I was telling you that we were in Bhutan and Pakistan, and there were no resources, no education. But then he just developed this thing on his own. And then everybody consulted him for making calculations, like when somebody is trying to sell his crop or something, and then he wants to know how much it is cost. So all calculations that needed to be done, he would do for farmers and settle those matters right there and earn for the family sufficient money that he could not live. Okay? But then it's very interesting. A person who is uneducated, never went to school, he developed this one, and he would earn his living. Now, this is what I want to tell you here. That inspired me during my early education to excel in arithmetic and eventually theory of numbers, algebra, trigonometry, mathematical induction, etc. In fact, it became fun and led to development of magic tables, binomial, etc. Now, he would come back in the evening from whatever work he was doing, and he used to tell me to massage his legs. Okay. So during massaging of the legs, father and son would start kind of conversation, and he would challenge me this. Okay, the time is 10 in 15, 5 to 30, etc., etc. like that. Or do this calculation, that I sold this much, this one, this was the rate, and how much it should be. And mind you, those days is a very difficult, because decimal system was not there. We didn't have this kilogram, gram, because all you have to shift this decimal place. No, it was save, and save, instead of kilogram we had save, and then we had chatak, 16 chataks made one, the save, etc. Everything was in powers of 2, 4, 8, 16, not 10, 100, 1000. So calculations were much more difficult. But once you develop the right kind of formulae for yourself, you could do it. So if you don't believe, I'm some person looking at positive side, that I used to look forward to the session when I would be massaging my legs on the top, because the kind of games we would play with each other during that time. And it was during that time that I developed all the mental arguments. So again, the thing is that as I was telling you, trying to make good of a bad situation. Okay, but that should be in good stead. In fact, many times I studied something interesting. I went to Australia, and when I came back, I had some Australian dollars. I gave to the bank. I wanted to convert them to rupees. Okay, so the person worked on calculator, and he said, "Yes, it will be 1 lakh and 2,000 something." I said, "No." So my mental calculation told me that it has to be minimum 1.5 lakhs. It cannot be 1 lakh 20. He says, look at this calculator. He's showing me calculator. He says, see, like this, multiply by this rate, and I got this. I said, throw this calculator out the window. It's nonsense. It cannot be. Because I could just simply tell myself that it has to be more than 1.5 lakhs. And you won't believe, this man started raising his voice, and then other colleagues joined in, and they were all feeling that this professor has gone nuts. How could he not see calculator study? I mean, calculator word was being thrown at me like a god. So anyway, I said, does anybody else have another calculator? Fortunately, somebody had. I said, no, you do that calculation. And it became 1,53,000. So obviously this calculator was faulty. But those people had no mental mathematics at all to understand that it cannot be this much, it has to be more than 1.5 lakhs. So that day, I told my wife I earned 33,000 rupees because of my mental mathematics. Otherwise, I would also believe that calculator and then accept that whatever it is. And I would have taken that money and gone home. But what I'm not trying to tell you that many times these really small things can play a big role if you are in control of yourself because of your mental mathematics. Now, this is another thing I want to tell you. Yesterday also I told in a different context. It's the most important thing, all of you sitting there, whether the students or staff, that it is very, very important to develop the habit of self-study. Now, there is a reason for it. Look at this. When you listen to a teacher in the class, you may not grasp or retain everything. You may have to supplement it in the evening at home, which you may not be able to do for some reason or other. However, if a teacher tells you to study in advance what he or she is going to teach or discuss the next day, you will be alert in the class next day in order to clarify your well-articulated doubts. This self-acquired knowledge will remain with you forever. Now, and I do it, again, I have been doing it for my class. What I do is, at the end of the class today, I tell the students next day or next week, whenever the next class is, that we'll do this chapter, let's say first 20 pages, whatever. But this is what I'll be covering next one. You please read everything. First, general reading, understand what is it. Then you work it out all the 20 pages. And then when you come, you only ask me what you did not understand. I'm not going to repeat about that what is written in the book. That will do a self-study. Now it's something very interesting here. A number of things happen automatically. Because this boy tried to do everything himself, he went through that kind of exercise which prepares him for research. In fact, this is one thing I have to so much. Often my MTech students, by the time they finish MTech, they are ready for PhD. Because all the time they have been thinking. All the time the self-study has been going on, that has developed already. Okay? And they are ready. Second good thing that happens is that when I come to the class next time, I only go page by page. Any doubt on this? Any doubt on this? And when somebody has a doubt, I only clarify the doubt. Now what happens is, if I taught myself, out of 100 things, 50% or 70% would be alright, other 30 would have been missed. But now because this person himself tried to understand, and then he could know exactly what he could not understand, and he's asking me that, and now he will never forget what I tell him. Because this knowledge is getting, but he is asking, his mind is ready, asking for that knowledge. He will never miss that. So this will remain with him forever. Okay? And this is how I have been doing it, and it works wonders. Because that is what I was telling you, I learned the hard way, whatever happened because my brother and the AIDS and etc. But that was the start of my faith in self-study. And that is what I do to my students. And first, in fact, let me also tell you, there is a lot of opposition. And I remember, this once, first time I did this, and these two boys, they went out of class, and it so happened in the staircase, I was just behind them. I was and I overheard them talking. And I said, look at this man. They were talking about me. Okay, he's being paid so much money for teaching here, and he says you do yourself. So to him, I was shirking my duty. I should have thought that, and my duty did this. Okay. Anyway, next class, they didn't know that I had overheard. So I asked this particular boy. So I said, so tell me now, did you read? Yes, sir, I did. Did you try to work out? No, I tried to work out, but I couldn't do anything, because I couldn't understand. I said, you read the book? He said, yes. Did you try to work out page by page? No, I couldn't understand, so how can I do? I mean, so man had already told himself he doesn't know, he doesn't want to know, he cannot know. I mean, this is the limit of negative thinking. Now, interesting thing was that is very similar. Other boy to whom he was talking the staircase and I overtook him. I asked him the same questions. Did you read? Yes, sir. Did you try to work out yourself? Yes, sir. Were you able to work out everything? He says, I got to 80% of this, 20% I didn't understand. So then that day I only taught at 20%. And now I asked that boy, I said, no, tell me now, what is wrong with you? Why could you not understand all that? And he says, I don't know. I am one of the toppers in the country. My, the GATE score was, the score something like 99.38 or something. In our institute, mechanical engineering, we actually stop at 99.8. I mean, less than that, seats are full. Okay, so this person was in that category, okay, one of the best in the country. But purely because of negative thinking, we did not give him himself a chance to go through that exercise that I have told you. And there is the same other friend who was actually, his GATE score was less than that. He could do everything. And not only that, others also could do. So I just told him now, I said, of course it's easy for me. I can just teach the same. Then what will happen? How is MTech different from BTech? In BTech, you did something, you could understand something, could not, etc. Finally, you did something, got the grade score, entered. And again, you are doing the same thing. You expect me to teach something you understand, something not, and then life continues and you continue to be an average person who can never do anything on your own. You want to be that? For that I said, you didn't get it on in Institute of Science. So in fact, it was an interesting kind of talk. But then I just told him, listen, and I don't want to penalize you or anything, but you are your worst enemy. Look at all the other students who got the same thing, heard the same thing from me, but they are all smiling. They could tell me somebody has 1 doubt, somebody has 2 doubts, somebody has 3 doubts. But we have only 100% doubts because you didn't give us a chance to think. You just told I cannot do it. Somebody must teach me. Then only I can do it. So what I'm trying to say is this attitude is very important, and that is what needs to change. Now, this is another thing, but do I have time or am I exceeding my time? Another just 5 minutes or so, 1 or 2 slides. Okay, I am saying update your knowledge continuously. Learning does not end with graduation. In fact, in the present day world, where knowledge is expanding fast, you have to make it a lifelong habit of self-learning in order to improve and update your technical abilities. One of the main objectives of every technical college should be to promote self-learning. Physical insight and experimental skill may not suffice to solve an engineering research problem. You will need to combine these with mathematical rigor in order to generalize your results and publish them in a reputed technical journal, which is an essential requirement for a research degree. This is why in IASC, applied mathematics is often taught by the engineering faculty. In fact, many research students of the Department of Mathematics are for 10-hour classes. This is a very important thing I want to tell you. At IASC, a lot of freedom is given to everybody, but sometimes the freedom is misused. One day in the Senate, we had a peculiar situation. The head of the Department of Mathematics stands up and tells the Senate, "Sir, we cannot be teaching all this. This is not our job." I mean, it's a very interesting thing. All of you know that there is pure mathematics, there is applied mathematics. And now the latest thing all over the world is applied mathematics, not mathematics. That's engineering. So all research only is going on in pure mathematics. And therefore they felt that, mathematics professors, that they're wasting their time by teaching engineering departments applied mathematics. And they said, no, we do not teach. They just refused. I mean, they had already they're ganged up, and they do this. Anyway, I was convener of all the dean or chairman, and so I was like number 2 in the institute. So I called all the deans, and we had a discussion. I said, first thing is, let's come out of this, that mathematics department are doing a very irresponsible thing by refusing to teach mathematics to engineers. I said, look at this another way so that we convert this problem into an opportunity. I said, first let us start thinking maybe they are right. Because we judge them only on the research output, and all time they spend on us, that's wasted for them, they are not able to do research, and that is perhaps unfair to them. Okay, but at the same time, our students need the applied mathematics. All our engineering is basically uses mathematics as a symbolic language in how our logic works. Again, there was some problem in the beginning that I was avoiding the question. I said, no, let's look at the question in a different way. But anyway, let me tell you the summary. we had a 2-hour meeting of the deans, and all of us agreed that we shall not let ourselves be bullied like this by mathematicians. We will teach mathematics ourselves to our students. All of us know sufficient mathematics to teach our students. So we took over, we said all applied mathematics will be taught by engineering professors. And in fact, we had some very good professors, on this one, computer science, etc., with the best of knowledge, and also like me and even on differential equations, algebra, linear algebra, etc., or like integral transforms. So now, but what I want to tell is something very interesting. In 2 years' time, we have turned the tables. Okay, we don't miss mathematicians at all. On the other hand, many students of the Department of Mathematics come and attend our classes to learn applied mathematics. So whole thing now is the other way around, and now that has become a standard practice. Even IITs now, they are learning from this, and they are also now applied mathematics being taught by engineering professors rather than mathematics professors. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is that this is another way of looking at things. So this is what I was telling you just now. This is why in IASC, applied mathematics are often taught by engineering faculty. In fact, many research students of the Department of Mathematics also attend these courses. And another thing I want to tell you, research and teaching go together. Many times, person says, no, I can't do this teaching. You judge me only by research, and then so much time goes into teaching. He thinks that teaching is something like those applied mathematics, the teaching is. It's not. So what I want to tell here is, research brings passion to teaching, and the teaching rejuvenates the researcher. Both ways, it works both ways. If you want to learn a new subject, the best way is to offer an elective course on the subject. I have tried it successfully several times. When you try to answer the students' questions or clarify their doubts, the underlying concepts become much more clear to you in the process, and that is important for research. This is another thing, last thing I want to tell you, as water flows easily when the water source is at a much higher level. Knowledge is also imparted better when a teacher is a specialist on active research in the field. All of you know that, if the water source is at higher, there is more gradient and the water will be rushing through the pipes. Exactly the same thing happens in teaching. The teacher standing on the dais, his knowledge base is much higher. Okay, automatically, whatever he speaks, it has much better effect, much better absorption amongst the students. And that is how the research, the teaching becomes much better. And that's why you find that teaching in IASC or IITs, etc., where every professor himself is an expert in the field, they are much better teachers. Because the students will get that knowledge because they have full faith. They know that this man is expert in his field and what he's saying has to be true. And that faith, implicit faith itself makes absorption of knowledge much better. And finally, this little more incubation centers and university research parks. The case study based teaching provides a holistic approach to engineering education. It challenges students to do their best. They learn much better from each other. This is what I was telling you, that students should be encouraged to form groups, work on projects, and preferably on projects on which full thinking they have to do themselves. That is how they will develop confidence, and they will then within themselves do brainstorming and come up with something, and there is nobody to say that there is a deadline or something like that. Leave them alone and just see what happens, and you will see that results are much better. Project building promotes self-learning and builds self-confidence. It should become an integral part of the curriculum. Of late, the concept of innovation has been added to research and development. Earlier, it used to be only R&D, research and development. And now this innovation has become even more important. Now I'm just defining it here. Innovation consists in extracting value from a creative understanding of what is already known. The Department of Science and Technology is sponsoring incubation centers at IISc, IITs, NITs, etc. Even private institutions now, they can apply for that and get it. They act as cradles for innovation and entrepreneurship. Now, in this quote, Professor M.S. Anand, former director of IIT Madras, he puts it very nicely. He says that university research parks bring together minds with different attitudes. Faculty with knowledge of fundamentals, students with their spirit to conquer the world, and science and technology personnel from industry with their ability to convert ideas into marketable products. And finally, this is my own wisdom, finally we should all try to develop sustainable technologies. It's our duty, otherwise we'll be taking more from the environment and leaving less for our children. Okay, we will be being very unfair to them if we do that. So it's very important, I repeat this, we should all try to develop sustainable technologies which would meet the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This is not abuse and say this parents or grandparents, they are very unfair. So we should really use the resources in such a way that we don't let the environment get depleted. Thank you.
Guys, if you have any questions, you can ask.
Okay, we have it.
Sir, good morning.
Yes,
Very
sir.
happy for attending this event, sir. I just have a small question. Being a teaching, I've been teaching profession for past 15 years.
Yeah.
I am allowed to make my students go for self-learning. But when I make them go for self-learning, like seminar or like that, if they go in for a group of 4 or 3, only one will do the work. Other 2 or 3 will not be doing the work. They will be just copying what the first one has done. So how can I make it more efficient even in UG level of learning, such that at least one part of module can be given as self-learning? Give me your suggestion for this.
Yeah, what you are saying is very clear. It's not just a imaginary. You can do 2 things. One is that irrespective of the final outcome of the project, you arrange, for examination, whatever you want to call it. There, every student has to write the report of the project there, in your presence by himself. Never mind whether he contributed to the project or not. But he write the report, he has to write himself in your presence. This is the examination. And that really takes care of everything. The person who has only been copying and all that, he just won't be able to write. His real knowledge comes out right there. You can, take it. Okay? And second thing is, if the project is more of building something or some tangible something, then you can ask questions. I mean, take oral examinations separately. You call it a different chamber. Every student comes, he does not have the advantage of others with him who can answer. No. He is by himself there with you and ask him, how did it proceed and then what is this, why not this, etc. And the real knowledge will come out in 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
And tell them right in the beginning that this is how you will examine them at the end. So that poor fellows they are not taken by surprise. Okay? Because after we need to, so tell them right in the beginning, this is how you will be examined. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else, please? Yeah, here.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. It was a great pleasure having your seminar, sir. Sir, my question is, how did you develop your communication skills? As you were stranded in Bengaluru, an entirely different state, where you don't know the language to communicate.
When I was in the 7th standard, my teacher, the English teacher, he gave during the summer vacation time 2 novels. In fact, I still remember by Thomas Hardy, 2 novels just for reading as a entertainment. And while going through the novel, there was one word, something I didn't know. I asked my elder brother, and he was much older, 11 years older than me, and I asked him the meaning. He says, don't do that. Why are you asking me? If I tell you the meaning today, then you have lost the opportunity of really learning English. Why don't you pick up the dictionary and see the meaning? I opened the dictionary. When I was seeing the meaning, I learned so much about pronunciation of the word, the meaning, and the etymology of the word, how it came, etc., etc. Okay. And because I did all that, I never forget that part. It was not just some pattern; it was knowledge. Because otherwise I was thinking like we have in Hindi or Sanskrit, the words can be broken down into basic roots, etc., and then we can take this. I found that even in English, it is like that. How that word came from Greek or Latin, I could see the whole. Okay? So now, whenever I was doing reading, I did not know the word. It was a pleasure to go to the dictionary. It became fun. Okay. In fact, all my English, the gift that I got was from a brother that day who refused to tell me the meaning of that word. Again, coming to self-learning. Self-learning is a great thing. That's the way to how it should go. In fact, so much so that, see, I was studying in Snatan Dharma school, and on the medium of instruction was Hindi. So even mathematics was in Hindi. But very soon I found that, when you try to in Hindi, you just lose that way of thinking, because the actual thing is being translated somebody by the writer into Hindi. That he already loses. So I learned only English by myself. In fact, in the whole class, I was the only one who chose to take the examination in English. Again, my teacher said, what are you doing? Too much of yourself, what will happen? So I said, please, I feel much easier, much more comfortable in English than in Hindi. And I did it. Okay? So what I'm trying to say is that finally I come back again and again to the same thing, the advantage of self-learning. It's fun. So that is how I learned English. Later on when I went to engineering college, I was joint secretary of speakers union, etc. We also went to other colleges, participating in declamation contests and debates. So it was fun. Okay? Yeah.
Hello, Professor. First of all, thank you so much So whatever the topic you touch upon, whether it is the self-confidence or creative thinking, by sharing your life history, you never fail to inspire us. I asked a question yesterday and you promised me to answer today. So I'd like to repeat my question. So how do you de-stress yourself after your bad day at work? And what role does self-confidence and self-esteem play in your emotional intelligence as a leader?
Actually, I already answered it, but let me repeat the words. Again, I was giving you example of going up the mountain. Whenever you feel depressed or tired or you look down and say how much they have achieved. Okay? So this is what I used to do. At the end of the day, whenever I felt kind of depressed or whatever, okay, I would look on the positive side of how many things, happened the way they should have happened. Instead of thinking that this went bad, but against that I have done other things which went the right way. Every day if you analyze calmly, it cannot be that all the 12 days bad things are happening to you. No. You just have to tell yourself, close your mind, go into the meditative state and look at what happened since morning slowly, and you will find that not everybody was bad with you, not everybody abused you, not everybody cursed you. So in the whole process, you will find that one or two persons misbehaved, or somebody heard something, somebody misunderstood you. Yes. At the same time, you will find that in the whole day, you met many more persons who were good to you, who were fair to you, who were nice to you, and then your day is made. And anyways, this is how this works. And all of you sitting here make such habits. You can really take control of your life. You will find you come to a stage where nobody can disturb you. And once that comes, life is worth living. And that's why you put two slides here, which one would have thought are semi-technical, but they are very real. If you can build that, into your character, into your way of attitude, that you will just tell yourself, you will not get disturbed. That person wants to disturb me, I am not going to like him. That's it. And at the end of the day, congratulate yourself, yes, I succeeded. That man won't spoil my mood. It works, it really works, please. Just try you people, slowly and write down your experiences, in a diary or otherwise, whatever, develop those habits and great. In fact, I started writing my diary when I was very young, okay, and often, going through my life, diary was great fun, because I could see so many good things that had happened in my life I had forgotten. Because we get carried away by what happens that day or something, etc. So it's just going through that, then I would, I would underline good things that happen. And every once in a while, going through those good things really takes you up. You feel so happy and everything, you like to come work late. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your words of motivation. And again, I have one more question. My field is actually language and literature. Like, what role does language play in the field of research? For example, though they are very good in their content and their thing, but they fail to express it properly, and that's where they feel that they fail to attain success. Though I know, I would like to hear from your words, through your words.
I must tell you, language is very, very important. If you remember one slide, I said, articulate your question properly. Now, language is very important there, that I should be exactly pose the question to myself in the right words. Another thing I said was, keep writing. Because when I write something, I read that and I myself will correct it. And no, this is not what I meant. I should have written like this, I should have written like this. So I become my self-corrector. And by correcting it to this one, I define that question better and better. And as I was telling you, a well-defined question is already half the answer. So this is in fact language I understood right from the beginning, starting with that teacher who just he gave me those 2 books on his own. He said, I don't do the vacation you are doing at home and just read. And that is how I had that encounter with my brother and then started dictionary. Okay. In fact, I'll just tell you something personal. At higher secondary, when I got the rank and all that, so I got some special grant from school. They just gave me some money, they go and buy any books you want. Okay, and then bring it back and those will be given to you in the function. So one thing I got, and that was a dictionary for my brother, not for myself. I wanted to donate that to him as a thanks that by putting me on that path, he had done me great favor. And my brother, kept that the dictionary for many, many years. He said that's the best gift I could have from him.
Thank you so much, Professor. And gratitude is always the fairest blossom. And let's conclude this remarkable session. Thank you.
Thank you.